Greetings, everybody. So we are going to be talking today about, we're going to be talking about inequity jurisprudence. We're going to be talking about Feme Sole. Okay, so this is a thing that becomes very confusing with women and marriage. One of the things that becomes an issue when marriage occurs is that people fall under different contract agreements, and these contract agreements are well, they're not very understood. So today we're going to kind of embark on a little journey through the legal landscape of the 19th century England, and England is where we get our laws from. So that's why we talk about that. And we're going to explore the differences between Feme Sole, Femesole, and Feme Covert. And this is going to analyze how the legal identities shape the rights of the social status of women. It sparked legal reforms, and it set the stage for the modern fight for the gender, the whole gender documentary inequality. So we're going to basically go over some keywords here, and it's just going to be like very simple stuff. It's not super elaborate, but it's going to give you a lot of explanation as to why. And there's a lot of women out there that are married right now that are now like maybe not married anymore or haven't been married. And these marriage contracts still stick with you through these like the contracts still carry on. They don't expire because there's other things that are attached to them, and they're actually adhesion contracts. So it doesn't matter whether you're in a contract with those people or not, because you haven't done things that are necessary to show your position and your authority. You are still considered a ward, and you have to go and do things that show your authority so that you're not classified as something or someone that cannot handle their own affairs, handle their own business. So with that being said, we're going to go and kind of go over Feme Sole. We're going to go over Feme Covert. We're going to go over, well, of course, equity jurisprudence, right? We're going to go over women's legal history, and then we're going to talk a little bit about 19th century law. So the Feme Sole and Feme Covert are their foundational elements in legal treatment of women before the 20th century, and today they still affect people. And we're going to go over the legal terms of these and how they, well, there's a lot of people that have been affected by this, and we're going to talk about kind of what that is. We're going to talk about societal shaping norms and the early debates of women's rights, how that all started. So I don't really have anything like I can show you visually, but we're going to talk about Feme Sole and Covert. They were more than legal terms. They basically covered the societal expectations, what society expected, and restrictions legally that were placed on women, what the law or what the rules said that women had to do in the 19th century. And Feme Sole was, most of the time it was a widow or an unmarried woman. They held the ability to own property, to sue or be sued, and engage into contracts. And the opposite of that was the Feme Covert. Okay, so the Feme Covert lived under a legal doctrine of coverture, right? Coverture, right? Coverture, that's what that is. Where her legal and economic identity was merged with that of her husband, okay? So instead of being independent over here, she was merged and kind of put under the umbrella of her husband like that. And that's what the trust is, the marriage trust is. So coverture was based on the notion that a married couple is a single entity represented by the husband. So it's like we're a gang now and you're the leader. Okay, that's what it is. I mean, and you see that a lot. Not so much as we have in the past. There's a lot of, defiance going on with gender, but this effectively stripped married women and their legal independence. So impacted their rights to property, earnings, and even custody of their children in cases of divorce. Now we don't even know what's going on. There's people out there that are fighting for kids. They don't even know what they're fighting for. Seriously, who are they fighting? Are they fighting? I mean, it becomes such a complex thing. Or you're defending yourself is what it comes down to. You're fighting for your life. It's hard to fight for someone else's life when you're fighting for your own. So the positions that people are placed in because they don't understand, where exactly they come from it's bad. It's bad. And I was one of them. I was one of those people that didn't know. Oh, by the way, I keep forgetting to tell you guys this every time.
The following program contains mature content and is the truth. No part herein is intended to be legal advice and is for entertainment purposes only. Audience discretion is advised.
Okay, so now that that's over, I just need to include that in an intro or something so that I don't have to do it. So the restrictive nature of Feme Covert clashed with realities of the Industrial Revolution and the growing demand for labor from women. This is all of a creation, folks. It was like, I mean, imagine just dropping a whole bunch of chaos onto people. People were doing things that they love to do because they love to do them. Like people would sew and they would provide seamstress work to other people because they loved, the way that they did seamstress work because they specialized in one thing. And then they would barter that service. See, that's what valuable consideration is. See, somebody doesn't necessarily need, I don't know. I might need to get milk, but like, I know how to do only seamstress work. So how do you convert milk into seamstress work? Well, you find somebody that that doesn't need milk, that needs seamstress stuff, that has milk. And you make that exchange. And that's a valuable consideration. That is one sweat for one sweat. Like somebody goes out and works a hoe, or let's pick a better word. How about a pitchfork? And they work a pitchfork. And when they're working the pitchfork, they're sweating. Okay. And maybe they sweat this much sweat in a little cup, right? Well, the exchange for that is not to give that sweat away. You don't just hand that away and say, here you go. Okay. That's what this corporation that likes to recruit people it doesn't even exist. This side of the road doesn't even exist. You guys are riding on one side of the road where you're allowed to abandon things, and that's it. You're allowed to abandon stuff. You're allowed to just do this and then abandon it, and that's what it is. And that falls under Title 26 of Title 26 and the Internal Revenue Code. It is in that as well. If you guys want to verify the citation, so. Coverture, again, was based on the notion that the married couple was one single entity and that it was represented by the husband. So the woman didn't have their legal independence and they had no rights to property. They had no rights to earnings. And like I said, the custody of the children. And I'll tell you what, another thing in law, if you look back into historical law, I've researched this too. You guys can do your own research, but you can look back into it and you can find where the woman's job, once the birth of the children was done, it's done in law. It's done. Like the woman can walk away. That's in law. And see, equity, that's enforceable in equity, but it's not. And I'm not telling anybody, I'm not trying to encourage anybody. I'm just telling you that is the perversion of legal from where the organic law came from. It was the woman's job. She produced the offspring, and it was a man's job to care for the kids. So that's kind of just been a thing that came into being, and it came into being by a means of control. Because I want you guys to think about it. Think about the things that are linked to this. When you think about okay, well, you go get into a contract here for this with this person, and we're going to be involved. And then when you want to undo the contract, they're involved too. And then when you want to go change something, they're involved. And when you want to unchange it, they're involved too. So it's like, okay, you just adopted a leech. What you did is you like went into the jungles of some like third world country. You walked into a swamp and you grabbed a leech and you said, stick right on to me because I'm going to carry you everywhere you want to go. And that's what you've been doing. That's what we've all been doing, folks. I think back, and I was thinking back on this yesterday after the class. We had class last night, but after class, I was thinking about this, and so many things have changed, and they're still ever changing. And it's taken, it's taken a long time. It took a long time to overcome belief systems that, and then to hear them reinforced by things that I listened to a long time ago that I didn't. I listened to these things a long time ago, and at the time I was listening to them, I was going, this can't be even real. There's no way. And now I listen to it and I'm like, wow, it's even further beyond what that was stating. And so it's very interesting to see the change of all that and how that whole paradigm like shifts. That shift happens. Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, the Married Women's Properties Acts began in the 1870s, and they were landmark reforms that began to dismantle legal framework of coverture. Okay, in other words, the woman being under the man's umbrella. All right. So it empowered married women with rights to their own property. It wasn't like extended for any sort of gratuitous reason. It was just put there to create another means to keep them on the same side in the public charitable trust. It wasn't a private thing. Because a marriage, first of all, you folks need to know, is a marriage. And the reason I'm telling you this, and this is probably, I should have started out explaining this. The reason I'm telling you this is because a marriage is a contract that you don't have to be in. And once you get in it, you got to figure out how to get out of it. So this is going to show you, this presentation will show you how to get out of that. It will show you how to, how to like correct the record so you can understand those two parallels that run next to each other. There is one that is good and there is one that is bad. But if you don't know which one, you don't know how to address these things. And many times if we can explain, that's what people are having trouble with. People can't explain what happened. They have no idea what happened. And it's not anything I can teach you in an hour or a 20-minute whatever. It's not anything that can be taught, and I certainly can't teach folks. You guys got to give me a break on Facebook, man. Like, I mean, I don't care what people say on Facebook, seriously, but you got to expect that I can't give you a full, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. Like, it's not like that. There's steps come with explaining what you've gotten into, like Feme Covert and Feme Sole. Like, how I can't just, like, you have to know those things before you can move on to the next step. And like, until you have that information, you can't speak wisely on it. It's just like people are trying to do things way too fast, folks. I'm telling you guys and girls, like, this is way too fast. The people that are trying to go and create these letters, and I mean, I'm not saying the letters are wrong, and I'm not saying you guys might, you might get remedy. But what I'm saying to you is that here's the deal, okay? You from your creator, you became a prince of your creator. Okay, you were like a subcategory, not anything less than, but equal to. Like, you were given the same abilities to be a creator the same way. And when we substitute that with another thing, it's going with another gang. There's only one gang. You're either on the good gang or the bad gang. That's it. That's only two. The good gang or the bad gang. And the good gang gives like full disclosure. The good gang deals in lawful coin. Lawful coin, folks. The good gang, right? We say, hey, I'll give you that nickel for that 5-cent piece, right? I mean, that's an exchange of value. Maybe somebody wants like a collectible dollar bill that is older and they're willing to give a gold piece up for it. But that is a valuable exchange because they're just like, okay, you know what? I would be willing to give my left arm for that. Well, I'm not willing to cut my left arm off, folks, but I am willing to, like there's things I would sacrifice. Like if you want something more than others, you have things that you would say, you know what, I would collect that stuff and put it together and I could trade that in for other things. Some of you guys are whizzes and amazing at bartering and trading and stuff. Some of you guys have talents you don't even know how to use because they've been tainted with commerce and with the idea that, you have to go and do something with it that is going to make you billions of things that don't exist. And it's just so that someone can attach themselves to the billions of things that don't exist and they can convert them into something that does. And that is under Title 12 of the United States Code, Section 411. It's called redemption for lawful money. So when people ask about valuable consideration, it is something that can be redeemed. And it seems like, well, it's useful Federal Reserve notes. Well, yeah, right now it is, because you haven't redeemed them for lawful money because you don't know how to do that yet. And you can't learn how to do that yet until you learn what is happening. And that's the frustration is I want to explain to all of you exactly what's happening, but people have to take the first step into wanting to learn. And they got to open up and listen and say, well, maybe there's something there that I don't know about. And I assure you there is. I mean, that's the only reason that I stayed doing what I'm doing now and why I do it full time. Because teaching this and explaining the difference between what I signed up for and what I intended to sign up for is a huge help for everyone. So you're welcome for that little sip of the drink. Sorry about that. My throat gets dry. Anyway, let's see. In the case in 1869, there was a case called Jackson versus Stewards. And this is kind of a cool case. A lady named Emma Jackson, she was married, and she sued her employers for withholding her wages without her husband's consent. And under common law, her husband held all legal rights to the joint property and financial affairs. So she ended up winning. The court ruled in favor of her, stating that she had a right to sue independently of her husband as a Feme Sole because her wages were considered separate property due to her employment being outside the scope of the traditional married woman's roles. Married woman's roles were within the marriage. They weren't working outside in a job. And this decision marked an important milestone in recognizing the legal autonomy of married women. So the Married Women's Property Act of 1870 expounded on this ruling, allowing married women to own and manage property and wages independently of their husbands. And these legal reforms, they paved the way for greater gender equality in terms of financial autonomy and economic opportunities. So that's kind of how the Feme Sole and the Feme Covert thing worked out. It's one is independent, one needs to become independent again. Now, how does one fix being a Feme Covert? Well, one must make notice. When you are in a contract with anyone, if you are opting out of that contract, you need to give notice for anyone who may have an interest, right? We don't know. We've created things, know what we were doing. So it's fair to give notice to the entire universe and everybody that's willing to listen to us, because then our conscience is clear. And that's what this is about. This is about a clear conscience. It's about doing what should be done. And things will be done as they should be done. But, well, there's a lot of different proverbs and psalms and parables that are throughout history and scripture that talk about that. And you will see that, well, they're all true. All of those different applications of things are 100% true, in the sense that they all apply to people who are engaged in contracts and who are trying to amend the original intent. Now, when we went and we signed up for things, okay, when we originally signed up for, I don't know, whatever the, driver's license or whatever it was, okay, you guys, we cannot say that we did not sign up for a driver's license or an ID or anything, okay? What they're not giving you the information on, or what is not, let's just say this. How about this? What I have not been able to see, what I personally have not been able to see, is any sort of proof that there's anything existent beyond that agreement that exists right there. And there isn't. So those things, once we learn where those things exist, all we have to do is go and find those things and correct what we wanted to do, what our intent was. And many people are going to get caught up. What people are caught up in is not, thinking, well, they're going to cancel me, or they're going to do this, or they're going to do that. Well, what I might say to you folks, because I've been there too, is that you just merely give yourself an opportunity to learn this better. When you learn it better, then you can address the appropriate parties that are necessary, so that you can create what already exists, okay? This is something that already exists, the whole relationship, but you're not privy to all of the facts, because it is called what is called a spendthrift trust. Okay. Now, people are like, I don't know. I hear a lot of stuff about people saying, well, there's no accounts. Okay. Well, I mean, I'll give that to you. Maybe there isn't an account. I don't know how you can have accounting without an account, though. So it's really hard for me to understand that concept. There's no secret account. Well, maybe it's not a secret. I mean, maybe that's what it is. I mean, is it semantics? I don't know. When people say this stuff, you got to really look at what they're saying, because when they're saying that, something isn't legitimate because of something, you got to read the words and look up the words that they're saying, because even the ones that sit and deny certain things are not denying the actual substance of what the whole controversy is. In other words, they're basically admitting by their non-denial, but it's words that they put out there to distract from their non-denial that we don't notice. And we read the distracting words and we don't see the non-denial. And then, so we don't chase it any further. But once you notice the non-denial, you put it into writing and you assert it as a fact, and they can't deny it because it's been admitted already. That, my friends, is what equity is. That is equity. That right there is equity jurisprudence. You cannot create that scenario unless you go and do what you did, okay? when you go and you call up somebody and something happens in a situation, okay? Something happens. We had a conversation. Maybe you witnessed something and they're denying 100% of it. Well, you know what? Let's go to really what God created for us, all right? Because God created our word, and he said, you know what? If you get 2 or 3 witnesses, it will establish a fact, okay? So you guys can look it up in the scripture. There's several places. In fact, you know what? I'll even look it up for you. I'll give you the information. Okay, so I'll hang on just a second. I'm going to keep moving forward. I want to keep moving forward on this topic. But what we're going to do is we're going to have the subject matter. Jeez, I just lost my whole train of thought by going into that. So, but anyway, we have certain inherent things that we work towards and we work for. One of them is creating a record. Okay. The rights that we have to these records are sacred. Okay. They're sacred rights because sacred is actually a root word of secret. Secret and sacred are of the same tree. Okay. They are born of the same fruit. And the fact of that is that something that is secret could be sacred. And it's something you may not tell, but it stays in your family, right? That's sacred. That is why a sacred trust is, they call it secret trust too. Sometimes I've seen it both ways. Secret and sacred are something that has been preserved over time because it is, well, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. One word, trust. It's something that you say, okay, well, here's a secret. I'm going to give this to you. How do you give someone a secret? In trust. I'm giving this to you in trust. Of course, you give it to somebody in trust. But that has been convoluted. Now trust has been made into like this noun. So it's like, oh, no, it's a piece of paper sitting over there. You got to have one of those things sitting there. No, you got to have right here. You know what it is. Hey, you know what? I trust that the garbage man's going to come on Tuesday. Sometimes I don't trust them because they drop garbage on the ground. But I'm telling you guys that the language is the same language that you're using. They're just using it in a different context. And you've been so programmed to only think that it's like this one way. Just like many of you have probably heard the word understand means to stand under something, means that something that's right here, you're standing under that. So if you've got a law, statute, rule, or code, and it's right here, then guess what? Who's standing under it? You understand it, right? That means you stand under it. That means you're subordinate to it. It means you acquiesce to the rules. You're okay with being those rules, being you're subordinate to those rules. Okay. That is called a membership. It's like walking into Costco, right? Do you know Costco can like do whatever they want when you walk into their store? It's private, folks. That's a private company. And they got their own private laws. And you paid a private membership to be a part of their company. Except it's not really, really private. They call it private. And I'll tell you why. Costco has a membership that you can buy with fiat currency. And you can't buy it with silver or gold. You could, I mean, there's things you could do to make records, but you can't buy that with silver or gold. So they are a corporation of the state of whatever they're in. And usually they're incorporated in like Delaware or another state that can get like totally disconnected from jurisdictional issues. And they can have a lot of different accounting benefits or pluses, should I say, that, again, we're giving up a right for a benefit or a privilege. When you say, here is my rights, okay, they're going to hand you back a fee schedule. So, like, that's when you guys sign, you're handing over all of your rights, okay? You're like, wait, hang on, here's God's stuff. Let me give you this, and then now I'll take your stuff. You can't hold both stuff in your hands at the same time, folks. It's impossible. It's impossible to do that. Okay. That's why everybody needs to learn what they've done in the side that they're on. And if you're not on, if you haven't gotten the right information, if you haven't gotten the right, if you haven't gotten the right information, then you've probably taken other information that's wrong and regurgitated something that's wrong as well. And that's why everyone needs to make sure that you've got, you've corrected. I'm not telling you need to go outside and do anything like that. God isn't your creator, or your creator isn't something that it has nothing to do with that. This has to do with the only things that you've already created. Okay. Because you can't uncreate stuff. You can't uncreate it, whether it's good or bad. Okay. But the fact is that every single one of us have created things, and we've been irresponsible in that creation, and we didn't know what we created. And a lot of people, I'm going to tell you, there's one person that I'm thinking of in particular that was a friend of mine. This guy showed up at one of my initial hearings before I was like put into a cage, and I learned a lot from him, like as a friend, but he's just a hypocrite. I mean, the total hypocrite. He is out there telling people to burn the birth certificate, which, I mean, to each his own. I'm not telling you guys don't do that, but if you're going to do that, then at least go fix your childish problems you started, because you just left those for everybody else. And now you're out there teaching people the same thing you're doing. Just burn it and leave it. No, because there's generations that are tied to your bad contracts. And I didn't create them. It's not my job to go clean up your mess. So you need to go take accountability for your own stuff. And we all do. We all need to. That's why, you can't go and get somebody else's like template. Okay. There's no template. You're getting somebody's life template is what you're doing. You're like, hey, can I borrow your life template? And I'll just use yours. Folks, you have a life of your own, and you like went down to certain places without these other people who went to different places than you did. Because what they're doing is they're putting down on paper what they did. Okay. They're putting down on paper what they did to get their situation remedied. And your situation is not theirs. And it's not all the same. They're all different. But you guys all need to really, seriously, we need to take this serious as something that we have to invest in ourselves in, and we have to understand, because once we understand it, then we can just stand on the righteous side and say, no, I'm not interested. We know who we are. But it took me a long time, folks. It took me a long time. You were talking years to finally get to the point to where we have a comprehension of like who we are and who we aren't. And they've got us way, way on the other side, thinking that we're living something that we're like, it's all total relying upon materialistic stuff. And we are not a materialistic beings. That's not what we are. But we've just been tempted into this world of physical like possessions. And truly the only things that are really amazing are the things that exist in nature. I went today and I hiked. It was like an amazing hike. It was just beautiful, but I made it about a third of the way up Pikes Peak, and I'm pooped. So, but it was just a really great experience. I don't know why I shared that with you, but nevertheless, it's one of those things that we have to realize that, there's things that we can make choices at, that we have the choices to make. We can go make them in whatever realm that we want. I see a lot of people making choices that are just feeding what are going to get their problems gone right now. And I'm not, I don't fault anybody for trying to getting out of your problems, but a lot of the things that people are doing are not resolutions. They're temporary things that don't solve anything. When you put a Band-Aid on something, or when you do something equitable, even, you will find that things will stop. Maybe you guys have like written a letter to somebody, and you don't know exactly what it did, but you wrote a letter and then you didn't hear from somebody for a while. Well, that's called estoppel. Okay, that's called estoppel. Means it's stopped things. Something you did alerted something righteous in righteousness. Now, here's what's weird is you can't see it. It just and no one notifies you and says, "Okay, we're stopping." It just happens. That's what equity is. That's what I tell you guys. It's you can't see equity. You can't like it happens. You can see it in the outcome, in the results, but and sometimes what isn't said is well, what needs to be stated. And sometimes you read things and you'll see something isn't there on purpose because it's telling you that you can go make the record, that you have permission to go do that. See, some things that are not made into a no is giving you permission to go make it a yes for yourself. But they're not going to tell you that. They won't tell you that because equity will not aid a volunteer. And if you wish to volunteer, then there's your opportunity again. It's called casuistry. I've talked about this. Casuistry. Casuistry. It means casuistry is basically taking something and twisting it and making it to where it's like it doesn't mean the same thing. They're just it's like witty, very, very aha, I got you kind of thing. Um so I'm looking through some things here that I wanted to go over with you guys. Anyway, the let's see. All right. I don't know. See, I can't see you guys in the live chat unless let me try to go do this. I want to do this here and see if anybody has anything in live chat. I think I have to go over to yeah, I just don't know how to get it. So I don't know if anyone we're gonna have to figure out a way I can do this this live chat so I can see you guys and we can talk and such. Maybe what I'll do is we'll get JC on here and you know what, I can do that actually. JC, I'm gonna send you an invite. I hope you're watching. No pressure. All right, so maybe you can bring up questions, or if there are questions, if anyone has any. If she's available, if you can get on that, JC, I'd appreciate it. If you are, it's on your Telegram. I don't think she's here. It's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to some other things here. All right. So we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about a little bit about equity, like what it is. And we're gonna talk about well, just a few things. So equity and the sovereign, like what is equity and the sovereign? And by the way, I had I saw that recently I don't know if you guys know it, but there is there are other groups out there, and one of them is an academy. You guys might know of the academy, but one of the academies had one of the people that was actually one of my former admins. This academy posted that they were teaching something in equity, and this former admin went and asked if uh, if they if they could get into the classes for free. And I had to go put a funny smiley face on there because I don't even think that they know that what we were teaching comes from the same source. Like seriously, I'm not kidding you guys. Like the other academy person that created an academy has the same mentor that I do. So we actually like the information in equity jurisprudence is the same. So people are thinking it's just, I just found it humorous because people automatically perceive that, the grass is greener right over here. Like this is a different type of thing that's being taught. And actually, I mean, what I'm doing is much, much deeper and much more thorough than, what's out there, what's being provided. And not only that, but when people really comprehend it, you'll see that there's nothing that I'm not asking for anything back from anybody other than, you guys provide your valuable consideration, which like anything you do, you go get a Netflix account, nobody's going to tell you, well, don't worry about it. You just got to do like whatever you want. You just got to pick what you want in your life and what you don't. And I've created something that's high vibing and good, and it changes people's lives in a positive way. And if you want to be a part of that, cool. We want you to be a part of that. So moving on to this, we're going to talk about basically the equity and the sovereign. Okay. So well, maybe we're not. Hang on just a second. Okay. We're not going to talk about that. I'm going to change this up, and I'm going to actually go back and edit this video because I'm going to have to do some things that I'm going to change up on it. But we're going to talk about an affidavit. Like, what is the difference? Why should we not be using affidavits? Why shouldn't we use affidavits? Why shouldn't we use affidavits? Why shouldn't we use affidavits? Okay. So, you are a private civilian, right? A private civilian is going to create documentation that is not involving a corporate entity. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. So when you go and create a declaration, have you ever heard somebody get up in front of a pulpit and say, I do declare, and they'll hit the thing? They declare, they're declaring as they hit the gavel. That's a declaration. They're just making the declaration. If people want to come forward and say something different, then cool. And notices the same way, folks. Notices. You guys can kill people with notices. Notices are deadly for situations. So the declaration you're going to see in equity jurisprudence, and many of these things that have been that you see in statutes, rules, and codes are also were actually taken from equity. And I'll tell you why. Because, well, legal is very jealous of equity. And when you start dragging legal stuff into equity, I don't like it. Because there's a whole bunch of stuff in legal that isn't right. You guys already know that. Like, have you been treated like crap before by people? That's legal. So if you've been treated by crap, then that's legal. Equity is when, maybe there's a decision where it could go one way or another and the righteous thing happens. That's equity, and you'll know it. But you got to bring it too. You got to have clean hands. You can't have like a tainted record and not give any notice of what your intent is. Especially if you guys have been contracting with this company or a company for a long time in a certain way, it's still understood to be that way. You gotta because you're just now discovering this doesn't mean that they just now discovered it too. Do you understand that? Like, you're going through a process and you're consenting just by like receiving stuff and doing stuff with that, or maybe creating other accounting with it or for it or whatever, without going into any detail. You've created these situations and you didn't know how they got created. So like, that's what we have to go and figure out. And there are people that are doing some accounting, but we don't know what it is. We have no idea what it is. And to really be in any authority, we need to know. We got to go find out. We have like work to do. Lucy, you got some explaining to do. So when we get uh, on that particular situation, we got to figure out like, okay, what is my obligation? What am I obligated to do here? Well, what did you agree to do? What did you agree to do? Like, do you know? That's the biggest part. Okay. You guys will do very good things. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to encourage viewers, because we have a lot of new viewers. What I'm going to do is, because I'm going to have some of the new people, um, many of you guys that are already in the trust classes, I'll do it anyways for you. But the new members, if you have a contract, okay, if you have a contract that you're wondering, like, I have no idea, this thing is just causing me all kinds of problems, then post a comment, and I'll help you guys with that. Looking at that contract, we'll take a look at it, and we'll like help you get started. I can't do everything for you, but I'm willing to like show you a little thing, and I can show you on here, kind of what that is, and like how that exists, and what these things mean. In our class, I'm going to be teaching in class this next week. We're going to be going over things for security agreements, how they work. We're going to be working with partners, partnering up. And if you guys are interested in learning that, then, bring it over. We'll show you how that works. This stuff is going to be done by like practicing, okay? Simply by practicing. I'm also going to get involved with, we're going to do things on minutes, because we got to have minutes for all of this stuff. And I know that, like, I'm not talking, I'm talking minutes. Like, we have to, this is what the hardest thing that I'm going against right now is, that I'm competing against a transition in technology when I'm trying to bring people back to the old days. Okay. I'm trying to bring people back to the days when like your lawful money was good money, and they're trying to bring you into technology that's saying that there is no money, and there is no money, but there's like, it doesn't exist at all. It's just this electronic thing. And you have to participate if you want to be an electronic thing too. Which is like, that's just the scariest part, is that people believe right up front that all of this technology is good. And I'm telling you guys too, be very careful, because here's the thing. I want you to practice this, or just think about this. Okay. Think about this. You have a universe, one verse that we live in, that people don't fully comprehend. If they did, we wouldn't be worried about climate change and things. Okay. So those people that are teaching stuff that doesn't exist are pulling something out that could be probable, like insurance, right? Insurance is probable for maybe an accident that might or might not happen. I haven't been in an accident in a long, long time, but like, I mean, that's what is casuistry. Casuistry is insurance. Because think about it. If you have unlimited credit, why do you need something that says that you'll pay something off if someone is harmed? Well, insurance is only offered to those who are classified as enemies of the state, because only enemies have to have insurance if they harm anyone in America. So all of those insurance contracts are contracts solely for those who have been classified under the public charitable trust as an enemy of the state. And because, again, what we're doing is we're bringing something to somebody, we're having them present it to a source that can turn it into, and I'm talking about an endorsement, turning it into a number. And that numbering system is what you don't have records to. And those records of that numbering system are what you need to get what you want. Okay? So I'm talking about when people want to go and acquire all of the accounting, or just say numbering for a particular account, they have to have that authority to go do it. the authority for that account only exists if they've established certain facts. And those facts have been established over time in the wrong way, just by not acting on them. And so one of the maxims in equity, one of the maxims in equity is that equity will not suffer a wrong without a remedy. And so we have to go and find out what these remedies are. And these remedies are all available for us, but people got to ask questions. You got to start asking stuff. And when we ask questions and we don't get answers, well, what would you like the answer to be? I ask you today, what would you like the answer to be? Because if you'd like the answer to be, something simple, then make it simple, because it's your answer. Because when someone doesn't speak and you ask them something, they give up their right to speak later. And their silence becomes acquiescence. It becomes an agreement to whatever it is that's stated on the paper. So what did you put on that paper? And how many times did you send that? Because if you have a record of, 3 different occasions where you've sent something to somebody and they haven't said anything, then under Federal Rule 12b-6, under their rules, I'm giving you their rules, folks. I'm telling you, you go look in their rules, and it says that they can't even do anything. Under Rule 12b-6, they failed to state a claim for which relief can be granted. They can't do anything. They are stopped from doing anything because you went and addressed the issue before it occurred. It transpired. That's all you got to do. And that's all these situations require. You guys got to learn other things in records. And I can give you all these little things will help. I mean, people can go put together something from what I said today, but it doesn't solve your problem. Your problem is that you have a whole entire record of things that have been opted on the wrong side. And you have necessary information that you create by knowledge, by having the knowledge and knowing this is what I got to go do, this is what I got to do, this is what I got to go do. You do these things and you create these situations and circumstances. And people aren't always going to roll over and say, oh, yeah, this is what you want. You got to go back and assert yourself more than one time. And then when you assert yourself, you have to follow up and you have to say, hey, by the way, is it still the same agreement that we said that, because you didn't answer the last time? I'm assuming it is, right? I mean, you just got to go. This is what they do to you folks. Like, this is contract law. Okay. This is what corporations will do to you if you don't learn the jargon and you don't learn how to, control your own stuff. All right. You guys can learn to control your own estates. You can learn to control your own, create your own trust, create your own things. And again, these things exist already. They're already inherent in our existence today. We get up and, we trust ourselves to brush our teeth and, whatever else we got to do to get dressed and to clean up. We trust that we're going to, feed ourselves. We trust that we're going to get enough water and adequate, shade or whatever we need, sunlight or whatever we might need. I mean, it's a given thing that we are in a trust all the times, at all times with all people. And when you go somewhere, you trust that the other person with another, like I trust another person with another dog is going to move over to the other side of the sidewalk and not eat my dog or me, right? I mean, we trust that. We trust that somebody that's walking with us on the sidewalk isn't going to be carrying a gun. We'd like to trust that, right? That's just trust. It's just, we're always in trust. Because you don't say, hey, I'm going to give you this and I want you to give it to somebody for this. That's the literal expressed meaning of a trust, if you want to get literal about it. But we're always in trust. And when you walk up to a window and you ask for something, or when you walk into a restaurant and you ask for something, there's a trust that's created. It's implied trust. They're not saying, okay, show us your money first, and then we're going to give you, the menu. Then we'll let you look at our menu. It's not like that. It's not a standoff. This is on honor, folks. It's in good faith. It's coming with clean hands, because there's no reason to not trust you, right? Unless you've come in that place and run out of the restaurant and left a tab there, then they're going to trust you. That's just honor. And people would rather be in that position, in an honorable position all the time, than to be feuding over or arguing over, whether we are like, I don't know, whether the controversy, that's where all the controversy comes from. It was created out of all of this, the honorable stuff, so that people wouldn't see other methods and ways of doing things, and they wouldn't go through those methods and ways and do them. It's like, if you have a way that you can gladly pay for a hamburger tomorrow for one today, isn't that better than getting rid of the dollar gold piece in your pocket? I mean, to us, right? They've told you that. They're like, hey, you know what? Hey, you don't have to do that. You don't have to take that out of your pocket. Just leave it there. Just pay it tomorrow. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about it. This is credit. Yeah. No, that's the temptation of the whole fiat currency. It's creating more numbers. Yeah, like, I'll just create more numbers for you. Yeah, but what they're not telling you in that disclosure is, we'll create more numbers, but we're going to tie it to future generations, so that if you died today, then the stuff you created is going to go on to other people. And because other people have created stuff, we've been impartially treated. Well, we've been treated unfairly. And this isn't about, like, it's not about being victims, okay? Don't jump on that thought wagon, okay? Because I'm not being a victim here. I'm just saying we've been treated differently and discriminately because, well, other people haven't taken care of stuff, and they're out there still leaving stuff undone. They're just like wards. I mean, go look up a ward of the state. It's like a kid that can't get his affairs under control. Always just chaos, chaos, chaos. Some people's lives are like that. And my life was like that. And that's the reason I can speak on this, because my life used to be like that. It was just like from the one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. Like, when am I going to have some stability that I can count on, that I really want to count on, that's really good stuff? Because the things that were happening in my journey were not, like, I wasn't really enjoying the journey and the ride. It wasn't a fun experience. I was going through a lot of, like, chaos, and I didn't even understand it. I didn't even know why. And until I really just started to balance things, and you got to go inside for answers on the outside. Like, people trying to go solve outside answers with outside stuff, it just doesn't work. You got to go inside your heart, inside yourself, inside your own mind, and you got to create that, because it doesn't create itself. You guys got to, you got to go again. Okay, so I'm going to be doing something else on, I don't know if I'm going to do it for class or if I'm going to do it for this week, but I'm going to be doing something on that. But there's some interesting information that's out there between the sine waves, how sine waves work, and how sine waves are, there's no straight lines. You guys have probably seen some stuff about that. Like, there's no straight line between point A and point B. It's always a curved line, which everything in the universe is curved, is what they're saying now. Like, it's got a curvature to it somewhat. Okay. But I mean, that's a logical model, because there really is nothing in nature that is straight. It's not 100% straight. It's got curves to it, or it changes at some point. It's just for a very short time. So, anyway, that's kind of it was an interesting topic, because it came up under, as long as you're trying to remain in a straight line, you don't end up going out. When you divert out into different areas that are beyond where you are crossing different curved waves. Okay. So there's different particles that are out there that are causing this wave to curve. Okay. So it might be a curve this way, or it might be curved this way. I don't know, just whatever way. And in other words, it's making diversion happen. It's not straight from this point to this point. There's a diversion that happened. That's why, sometimes you have something you manifest and it ends up really close, but not quite where the others, or where your mind was set on going. Like, it gets you close, but it's not quite there. That's because it wasn't a straight line. You had an idea to go straight, and you set your idea for that, and it ended up curved, and it was off of where that straight line was. So, that's why we say that you could say be specific or not specific. I've heard people talk about that in manifestation, is be specific or be not specific. Yes, modulation and amplitude. Thanks. I can see the chat on here now, and I don't know why I can just see that. Yeah, so the original these original things that exist here. Doug, maybe you might be a good person to talk to about this. I don't know, because it seems like you know a lot about that, those sine waves. Oh, you speak oscilloscope. Okay, so cool. So we're going to talk more about that. I think you might find this topic more interesting, because wait till you see what I'm going to take it into. It's crazy. And you're going to be like, what? How did that go to that? So, but just hang in there with the topic. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys how some of these things relate. And it's actually somebody else showed me, and I kind of just took the research off a little bit further. So that's kind of what I'm going to go into. I think we're going to do that probably maybe tomorrow. Maybe we'll just do that tomorrow. I don't know. I'll have to ponder on this. I got to go take these creaks out of my back after I get off this podcast here, because I got my body's a little bit sore today. I carried a pack up with me, and my dog didn't carry anything. He just ran and then followed me for like the way down. But anyway, we had an amazing time, and I'll show you guys. I'm going to put together some pictures. I didn't have time to pull them all out today. I'll show you some pictures of what I took. I got some pictures of Pikes Peak, and it's full of snow right now. And then I got some pictures of Colorado Springs from up on the mountain. And then I got some just some other cool stuff. So I'll share that with you guys, and maybe I'll put that on tomorrow. I'll see what I can collaborate. You guys have an amazing day. I appreciate you. And we're going to, I'll get some more stuff together tomorrow. Today was kind of the day after class. And like I said, I just got back from a hike. So I was kind of trying to put stuff together and have this ready for you guys to talk about. But we'll have another thing tomorrow we'll discuss about. You guys, appreciate you so much. Have an amazing day. By the way, Doug, I need you to reach out to JC and set up a meeting, because we got a little work to do. And you guys have an amazing day. I send you much love and energy. And with that, I yield.